Okay. Okay. So, with Anne, how do you think your lesson went?
I felt like it was a productive lesson. Some of it was a little bit of a review for her, and then the other parts, once she was started doing the independent practice, she had a little more trouble, so she needed some support from me. But overall, I felt like it was productive.
You know, like I'd mentioned with another student that you did a lesson with, that we try to make it as age appropriate as possible. Teaching them the skills that they need, but also make it engaging. And so I thought it spoke well of you to know that she had such a high interest in dolphins, and that there was a Brain
And it
Pop
was in
Junior
that, yeah.
that happened to be about, you know, the different types of sentences and the dolphins, and they were in a submarine under the sea and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, she got really excited when she saw that, and hopefully it engaged her more in the lesson.
and even though it's a little, you know, immature for
Yeah,
her
right.
age, actually, with her cognitive ability and things, it appeared appropriate. And another thing I appreciated about it, with all the activities that you could have chosen to follow up the lesson with, you chose the one, you know, that was actually the writing prompt.
Yes.
And then it had the different types of sentences color coded, and then it gave the explanation. So it's really no different than her having a grammar book per se. Not that we really have those anymore in front of her, and being able to refer back.
Yes,
to
it
the
was very
material
easy
she
for her
was
to go
able-
back and look at, and I had to show her first how to access that extra help portion of the lesson. But once she knew how to do it, she referred back to it much easier.
Yes, and her fine motor skills were appropriate. She was easily able to access the computer, the mouse, that sort of thing. So I think it was a really a neat way to teach a skill. And
Because
and
she
one
would
that
rather
was-
type it out,
Yes.
type her sentences out than write them out. It's it seems to hold her interest a lot better.
And also, again, you did a really good job of going back to the data that you had and what she needed to work on, what her
Right.
strengths and weaknesses were within the writing. And then your goal is trying to not only have a variety of sentences, but to lengthen, you know, the amount of sentences that she is producing.
Right, and link the add more details, some adjectives to her sentences. She's really good at writing simple sentences, commands, and that, you know, the statement questions, statement sentences, excuse me. But when you get to the exclamatory and the questions, those are more difficult for her, and that's kind of what she struggled with when she was writing her own sentences. But then when we went back and we accessed the help portion on the screen as she was typing, that seemed
And
to
I
help.
did notice that, you know, the brain pop, she was able to stay engaged, but when the work became more independent, she would have a tendency to want to look around the classroom, kind of see what everyone else was doing, you know, kind of a little nosy, or seeing what everybody, you know, what else is going on. And so
That's why it's
when it
important
comes
for her
the
to
independent
kinda,
work,
yeah.
you kind of had to
Keep
nudge
her on
to
track,
stay on
yeah.
task.
And because she does want to look around and figure out what everybody else is doing. But I think the brain pop activity and the writing helped with that some, and gave her some incentive.
And, you know, you allowed her to kind of choose the topic. I mean, you gave her a lead in, but then she had some flexibility with her interests.
Right.
You
So
know,
with the
where she
writing
would decide.
activity, we talked about a place that she would want to go, and she of course wanted to talk about going to see dolphins because it was in the video and she likes dolphins. So we made a list of some words and some ideas that she had, and she referenced back to those as she was doing her writing.
Well, and one thing I was glad to see you do, because I've been in teachers' classrooms where they use brain pops or different video, and they just say, we're going to watch a brain pop about whatever, but you introduce the lesson,
Right.
why it's important, you know, what you were going to be learning, and then in the end, you know, you kind of summarize what you were doing and why, kind of like what your next steps would
Right.
be.
It wasn't just a supplemental thing. I use it as an introduction, as an engaging activity, guided practice, independent practice, and assessment.
Yeah, so I appreciate that as an administrator, that you actually used it in the right way.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think that next time you might could do differently? I mean, it went really well, but I mean, is there anything?
I think that she has a good basis with her writing sentences, but I would really like to see her explore some different topics, different types of writing. Like I said, it just kind of jumpstart more into adding some details, all different kinds of things for her writing.
And I think that, you know, we had technology in here, and But in a way, it was very engaging, and the minds of the children these days, with the technology and things. But it's also simple.
Mhm.
It didn't have a lot of busyness, and I think that works better with her.
Yes.
Just
And it was
staying in one
it was
place.
clear what what the expectation
Yes.
was, and that's good for her because, like I said earlier, she gets distracted very easily,
Yes.
and especially if the task is difficult.
But she
for her.
responded really well to redirection,
Mhm.
and you were able to positively reinforce her, and she's much more comfortable, and she didn't mind asking for help.
Right?
either,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Just took her a little while.
well, thank you so much. I enjoyed watching your lesson.
Thank you.